republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are we recorded, Brian?
Yep.
All right, perfect. All right, so we got everybody here. John's not going to be with us this evening, so we do have a quorum. Okay, regular agenda that we got in front of us. I think we're good with it, right? Don't know if there was any other mods. I think this is as it is tonight.
Should be good as is. It is slightly different than what we have seen earlier within the past couple days, but this agenda is one we can go with.
Okay.
Motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
Ryan makes a motion. Dave does a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, regular agenda is approved. Consent agenda approval.
Nothing out of the ordinary there, Corey.
Okay.
Pretty much business as usual.
Yeah, didn't look at anything caught my eye unless you guys saw something that was you want to have questions on.
Approved, looked at, and everything looks good.
Otherwise, I'll accept a motion to accept the consent agenda
So
as
moved.
is. Okay.
Second.
Dave does it, and Chelsea does a second. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, council meetings, notes from the last meeting. Everybody a chance to look through them? Any questions? Changes, issues? If not, I'm going to accept a motion to accept the minutes as they are.
So moved.
Okay, Brian makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Chelsea does a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. Okay, we have the part of the show here where we have public comment. Anybody got anything they want to talk about this evening? Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll move along to number 7. Brent, you're up.
Okay. This, what you see before you, is the Regional Trails Program project agreement. Basically, it's just this. Provides the grant amount, which is $186,216. Our match, $46,554. This is for a project along County Road 17 from really Chestnut going north to 81st Street or Drakes, that little portion there. So we're looking for approval to enter into this agreement. It's pretty standard. Any questions, or Jim can elaborate tied to it?
Did you get our agreement in the?
Yes.
Oh, it is in there. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
We do need to show activity and have the first billing tied to this occur. I believe it was June of this year.
June of this year. As you all may recall, this was approved. This was approved a while ago,
That's what I was going to
and
ask about.
due to some FHWA funding not requirements, but allowing them to get the money out there and to get the award out, there was some hang up with the federal highway bill and all the funding that goes along with that. And then there was the shakeup at the Park and Rec Department and that kind of throw thing along. So now that we have the approval letter and everything, it's all in place for proceeding. So that was kind of what drug it out. So
it was more of an approval on the federal side.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's not a big deal. Fortunately, they were able to approve it inside the window so we could actually do something.
well, I would say that they would have to make it attainable for.
Yeah, they would have to give us an extension of their, if we were hung up on their approval.
You didn't say we give you a week to spend the money or
Right.
a month to spend
Right.
the money, some of the money at least. So this does have to be completed in 2018.
Okay,
With
so
the
the
final-
period of performance has to be done by 2020. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a fairly small project, so bike paths like this aren't too difficult to get progress on.
Right.
And even if we have the first billing where it's such as like materials, the contractor is secured and then they purchase materials, that can get us our first billing to them, or submittal to for this grant.
So since we've already approved the project, what is it that we need to?
You're just approving the agreement.
Yeah.
You have to enter into an agreement.
This is a formal agreement.
I motion that we approve this formal agreement to move forward with the project.
Okay, Dave does a motion, can I get a second? Brian does a second. We're spending money, we need a roll call this one?
I would
Lucas?
suggest roll
Okay,
call.
Dave?
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, here we go. Motion is approved.
Does that include our stuff, Brendan? Or we want to go through the engineering services agreement?
I'd say, do you have the agreement on that part too?
Mhm.
Let's just tackle that part too. We'll do that as a separate.
Okay, I don't know if you guys.
They don't have that in front
Oh,
of them.
you didn't get this. I apologize for that. I thought that it was put in there. So anyways, the estimate for the project is $232,770. We're proposing to do design engineering for an hourly rate not to exceed $16,500 and construction engineering with an hourly rate not to exceed $23,500. The construction engineering might be, this is a not to exceed. I think we can bundle this in with all the other work that's going on around the school and all that, so it can be a cost effective for the city. And the same thing with the design. We're utilizing some information that we've gathered with other work in that area to kind of
Okay.
economize that. The original estimate for the services were, of course, I don't have that. They were more.
The number you had, what'd you say was the original project estimate?
232,770.
Okay, so it's a little bit more than,
Yep. The grant is capped at 200,000.
okay.
But in order to get to 81st Street to have a reasonable stopping point, that was what the estimated cost would be. This is an estimate, or that is an estimate. It isn't construction
So
numbers.
we'll get
but-
some savings by following
Yeah.
some of the engineering with the other projects.
Yes, that is the plan. So,
Okay.
I have the, like I said, I thought you guys had this, so if
Yeah.
you want to flip through it, you certainly can. If you want to pass it down, it's kind of the standard stuff. Lucas has done it in the past, approved it, so let's make sure that everything's there.
I mean,
This agreement is significantly less than what typically would be because of all the other projects we have going on.
Right.
So,
Covered, there's a middle one. Kind of a middle, so.
we do have that advantage. I believe it was quite a bit of cost savings.
I can't remember. I don't want to say something
Yeah.
wrong just because.
But from what Jeremy had for original numbers, as the project standalone, it was a significant savings.
Okay.
There's a lot of verbiage in there, Brian.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yep.
So 23, shall not to exceed 23,000. So,
The cover sheet's got it all on there.
Mm-hmm. It's all on here.
well, but the item 10 has 23,500, but the number in the parentheses is 16,500.
Would I make a problem there?
Yeah.
Circle. I'll fix that.
Okay, so something to check.
I will.
Okay.
That's just.
So in essence, it's with that, it's basically 23,000 is what we're approving for the engineering services.
16 for the design, and then there's construction, engineering, observation, that type of work too.
Okay.
That's the 23.5. So.
what you're saying, because we're bundling this, those numbers are less than they probably normally would be for the project.
This
of
project
type.
does have to have detailed plans and specifications, and it has to be bid through the North Dakota Park and Rec Department, being that's where the grant was. So
Got it.
there are some requirements with that.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody got any other, I mean, do you want us to put this one as a separate vote then?
Yes, let's
do
You
it
wanna do that?
separate.
All right.
Yep.
Anybody got any more?
Motion to approve the engineering, the plans and specs, right?
Yeah.
To approve the plans,
You just-
drafting the
No,
plans.
going to this
You're
agreement.
approving the engineering services agreement.
Yep.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so Brian makes a motion, can I get
I'll
a second?
second that.
Dave gives a second. All right, let's roll call it again. Dave?
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, so it passes. All right, number 8, Brent.
Okay. The next item for you is in regards to the detention pond on the school district's plot of land just south of 76th Avenue South. We've been working closely with the school district, talking about different ideas of ownership of the pond, and we've been looking at every different angle we could possibly think of with this whole site for every different element. But the pond would serve as a regional detention pond because it would serve some of that commercial property to the west of the school district site, and even going all Lakeview Drive, or majority of Lakeview Drive, and even a little portion, if I believe Jim, by Horace Lutheran Church. There's a little portion that does drain on there too.
Retention area there today.
So
It shouldn't be there, right?
So the pond does serve in the capacity of a regional pond to some degree because of picking up stormwater from those other areas. The school is required to have this detention pond on site as part of making sure the stormwater doesn't run off the lot faster than what previous conditions are. There are two options that we're looking at. One is the city to assume ownership of the detention pond. We have done this in other developments for other reasons, or various reasons. Lost River, for example, Dreamfields, very different reasons. However, the city has served, we do own some detention ponds and developments. The pro with that is the city would be able to have ownership of that pond. We'd have control of the maintenance of it, operations, everything tied to it. The pond could be tied to liabilities, and then also does the city want to take on ownership of another pond? There's also option of an easement where the city can still maintain, operate pond, working in conjunction with the school district. However, the school district would own the pond. If we had that situation where easement, and Mark or Tony could elaborate, or Jim, but if we have it where it's the easement, there wouldn't be a separate lot. Where if it's a city ownership, there would be a separate lot on it too. The separate lot, city would pay any special cost of specials, anything tied to that lot, we would pay for it also. So there's some variables to consider in taking on that responsibility. So we wanted to discuss this before the Planning Commission tonight, even though it doesn't have a whole lot of impact on Planning Commission. The final plat is being reviewed tonight, but we want to know where council stands on this, because we didn't feel this would be a staff decision to make, taking on ownership of this pond or not.
So the other retention ponds that we have in town here, the city has ownership, or is there easements on them, or what do we?
Ownership.
It's
The
ownership
city has
for the
had
past.
ownership of Lost River. That happened middle of last year, I believe, and then Dreamfields, but that was a different situation where there was a lawsuit involved on that one.
So I guess the question is, would this be, it basically involve mowing that area?
We would have to mow it.
But it would not be designed to be holding water for a significant period of time to have cattails and everything else growing.
It would hold some water. It had, I believe you were at 4 feet, Tony, is that correct?
I think more like
8 feet now. So it would be holding water year round, or pretty much year round.
How big is it?
About 3.
4.5 acres.
Yeah.
Oh, it is that big.
Yeah.
How big was that?
4.5
4.5 acres.
Yeah.
That's the parcel that's worth lot.
So the overall depth would be what?
Overall depth was, I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So it's like 16 feet.
Oh, it would be 16 feet deep,
Yeah.
and then, so it would average hold 8 foot, but then would there be a pump that would draw it down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Draw it down, if a rain event were happening, and that it could hold more water then.
Yeah.
I think my side comes down to is that it's a regional, it's not just the schools. If it was just the schools, I would just state that we just need the easement to maintain or something like that. But if we choose that we need to put more into it, or we need to upgrade the pump station or something like that, how do we justify going back to school and say, do this when we got 3 other developments draining into it or something like that?
Plus we have the pattern.
I understand there's liability, Lucas would bring up potential liability concerns, that kind of stuff, but I don't want to make a decision solely based on liability. I know that it's a risk, but plus then if we have ownership, then we choose to potentially be able to do something additional with it or whatever. We're not having to impact the school as much, as long as it meets the demand of what we're trying to do.
Right. Yeah, I guess I don't see any issues with having ownership of it, because it's a pattern that we've had in the city, and it's
Right. It's what we've been doing in other developments.
I know it's not always what we should potentially do, but if it was single just for the school, that'd be a different story.
You are right. This will be a regional deal.
I guess I don't understand, as far as
the developments that are benefiting from the pond, how do we get compensation, or how does that work as far as who's using it and who's benefiting?
Well, I would assume that we would potentially assess the cost
The
of
cost
building it to all those areas.
The cost of 79th would have special assessments tied to it. I believe 79th was tied to just the school, though. Yes. Market experience.
Mark, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to leave you out there.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, in this case, the school district has in its plans for the bid, our bid specifications for this project to construct the pond. Our engineers have been working with the city engineers to design it to the appropriate standards. So the cost actually of the initial construction will be borne by the school district because we have a retention requirement to meet for our projects. We, in the final plat that's going to be reviewed by Planning and Zoning this evening, we have set aside a separate lot for the retention pond so that if you make the decision to actually transfer ownership, the plat is already going to be set up to accommodate that transfer of ownership. If you choose not to and it's just an easement, we just have an extra lot, basically. So at this point, it's our intention to dedicate that to the city, either through easement or transfer of ownership, as a part of our public dedication requirement on our on the plat.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
So that is, I mean, it is, and how we handle the cost of maintenance of those in the past with other developments, is that
We have-
factored in part of the property taxes that, you know, that we get?
It's just we haven't really been in the ballgame long enough to
To have to worry
have
about?
cost. Yes. Typically, cost type. Greenfields is the only one I could fall upon, and that's just a general fund item. If we had like a stormwater fee or a stormwater fund, then that funds for maintaining those ponds would come out of that. But at this
But right
time,
now,
it's just
it's
a general
essentially
fund.
no cost.
Yeah, there's very minimal cost. Mowing, and even mowing might be something we work out an agreement with school. Depends on how logistics work with the pond. But we're just looking at ownership right there. As for general maintenance, mostly the ponds don't have a whole lot of cost tied to them for maintaining.
Well, I'm just thinking of vector control, for example, right? Because I mean, it creates another area that we have to handle mosquito control or something like that.
But either direction, if we could have the easement, we could do
Right,
it in there,
right.
Either way.
Either way, there's going to be that cost. So I
Yeah.
guess I would be in agreement that taking on ownership is consistent with the process we've been, you know, procedures we've been doing elsewhere. So,
Right. I guess that's
so
what I
do
would
you need
do.
a vote or just
Let's see.
feedback on the general direction?
It wouldn't hurt just to have overall action. We have it listed on the agenda as discussion and action. So,
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
Vote there tied to it, then it gives us formal direction tied to it.
So I'll make a motion that we recommend, is it a recommendation? Recommend to transfer the ownership of the pond area to the city of Horace. Is that correct?
Lucas, does
Well,
that
it's just
suffice?
you would be taking on that. You're willing to take on the ownership.
Right,
The city's
right.
willing to
So
take
Yeah, and then
that's-
we'll make
that
sure it's done
basically-
on the plat. It'll be done through the platting process, but you're just,
Yeah.
your motion is directing that's.
Yeah. Well,
Basically,
You're just saying that
Planning
you're willing to
commission's
accept
gonna
that.
Right.
just make sure we're wording it right.
So now we can provide that feedback to Ms. Fargo, and then that starts the process for the plot change, or the plot change.
Yep.
Yes.
And giving direction to the planning commission, it's like 11 on tonight, that's what the city council would like.
Okay. So Brian made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Chelsea does a second. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The motion carries unanimously. Okay.
Okay.
Number 9.
Next item I have, I don't know if you should have the spreadsheet there, but nope, doesn't look like it.
Do I need
Just,
a spreadsheet?
no, you're fine. I just wanted to provide council a quick recap of the fiscal year 2018 overall expenses. These numbers could fluctuate slightly, but you shouldn't see any big changes. The reason I say slightly is in case there's any other year-end close expense that occurs in the meantime. But I don't foresee these to change a
We
lot.
don't have the attachment.
Yeah, I have it here if you want to see it, or I can email it out. Actually, I can pass it out here.
Okay.
But I'll just highlight it for you in a second. Overall, after you factor in the amendment 1, council did do a budget amendment towards the end of last fiscal year. That amendment amended the budget to $1,340,400. What we did is we tried to look at a worst case scenario. If we had all expenses come in high, it's always best to come in below your budget. So if we ran over our budget, that would be an audit finding. So we don't want to go over. We ended the year at $1,272,286.64. That is roughly a $68,000 difference that we came in under budget. That's good. Overall, when you compare how much revenue was pulled in, we pulled in $1,086,338.07 for revenue. The difference is $185,948.57. So, to simplify that, the $185,948, that number there is how much of a fund balance we spent down in 2018.
Okay.
That budget amendment was approved knowing that we were going to spend the fund balance down some, but that's just to give you an idea of how much. When you take in consideration all the different projects and things that happened last year, the match for our comp plan, transportation plan, is reflected in there. The match for the corridor study, 76th Avenue corridor study is there. Recruitment costs, miscellaneous studies we've had done throughout the process. Those are all reflected in there. Also, purchasing Black Mountain for the billing software component, that's reflected. Those are things that weren't budgeted, but in the original budget, but then were reflected in the amendment. So when you take into consideration all the different things that have occurred, we had a lot going on last year, and ended up the year in pretty decent shape compared to where we were looking at being. So, but like I said, I just wanted to provide a really quick highlight of where we ended up the year, and if you had any questions tied to it.
So are we getting the final? When are we expecting to close out the books? End of January.
They went out today,
Oh, okay.
so it's on
So the next
SharePoint.
council meeting will be reviewing the year-end closeout.
Yeah, it's posted on SharePoint today.
Okay.
So the 185,000 you referenced there is higher than what our original budget that's what we went over from our original budget at the start of 2018, right? That we had set.
185.
We did that in an amendment, and the amendment, we actually came in lower than what we expected to spend in the amendment, right?
Actually, the overall difference, the 185 is from the amended revenues also.
Okay.
So if you were to look at how much we came from original revenue budgeted to actual expense, it was more around 220,000 roughly.
Right, but
yeah, 185 is the difference.
Is the difference from our very original?
No, well, the 185 is the difference from Amendment 1's revenue to Amendment 1's expense year to date. If you did
Oh, okay.
if we did the original budgeted revenues, it'd be about $50,000 higher, because you typically budget revenues on the lower side.
Yep.
Yep. Let's see here, I can tell you exact.
That's okay.
Okay, anything else on that, Brent?
No, it was just, like I said, it was just an update so you guys knew where we were sitting for
So
that.
the year-end file is in the packet, or it's on.
You'll see year end next month.
So after this, then some of those old special accounts that are just hanging out there, we'll be closing those out.
That is correct.
Oh, it would be an exciting day.
Yep. Okay, we'll move on to 10. Lucas?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. This is my one and only item, so I will make it quick.
Are you sure? check, man.
I did. I literally just did.
Like,
I wanted to make sure before I said that.
We'll drag on more.
Second reading of this ordinance. It cleans up the accessory uses, so the size of the accessory use in each respective zone is just what it says in that zone rather than before those districts are commenced. And then it broadens the definition of the public facilities district to include any municipal or public purposes rather than just city-owned or park district-owned property being included in that district. And you had your first reading at your last meeting, no questions.
No changes.
No changes. So this is your second reading.
So,
Motion to approve the second reading.
I was going to say, Brian, can you get a second?
Second.
Chelsea? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion
That's all I have,
carries.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. All right, Jim, you're up on 11 here.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Council. Hopefully, you got the memo on the next one.
Yes.
Yep.
You do. So, any questions on the memo? All we did was added a statement onto the standard driveway detail that is handed out to contractors and developers. It states the maximum driveway width in an R6 zoning is 50% of the lot width, with a maximum being 30. It's stated on here twice, so they can miss it twice.
Suppose you could put it an attachment so you get it in there 3 times.
Well,
just if you're going to really make it
I didn't
stick.
want to make it highlighted because then they really would miss it. So this is just a revision to the originally adopted drawing. So
Okay.
Was this reviewed by planning commission? Did you guys review this?
This doesn't need to be. What he's doing is updating the information they hand out to the contractor to match what we have
Based
in
on
the
what they
zoning
did.
ordinance.
Yeah.
Right.
What they did.
Yeah.
It's an update.
This is just an update to the standards so that it matches what our current expectations are for you guys.
correct
Okay.
for the ordinances.
So it's a consistency thing more than anything.
So we need a motion to accept
Motion
that.
Yeah, I
to
would,
accept.
yep.
Motion to accept these
Okay.
changes.
Dave does a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Chelsea does a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. So, all right, Jim, you got the next one.
All right, on the next one is Visto's third industrial edition. Kelly Visto is here if you have any questions. I typed a rather lengthy memo on this, kind of highlighting the background information and where we're at today and moving forward with that. If you have any questions on that, that's fine. I can take them. If not, basically after we met, so Matt, Kelly, myself, Kent, and Brenton met last week, Friday. We met last week to discuss moving this industrial edition forward. We provided some updated costs and potential assessments to the developer, and his preference was to not pave the streets. And as a kind of, I guess we could compromise, the developer was willing to fund that part of it, of the project, if the city would do the water and the sewer. And then there was a stipulation of when 70% of the lots are sold, or 5 years, final payment would be constructed by a special improvement district. So I know we had a lot of questions last time this came before the council, so Kelly's here today. If you have any other questions, we don't need anything real directive on a district or anything, just kind of an idea of this is the way to move forward with this industrial addition.
So is there actually an agreement that we would enter into that says, that's part of this, is to say at that certain build-out point that would be the time when the city it would be the city's responsibility then to build out and pave the streets, to do curb and gutter,
Through
and
a
then
special assessment district.
and then would be so that would be a separate special assessment
Yep.
district.
They would
Yeah.
either, and that would be something that you can work out with the attorneys and the developer, but just kind of an idea of getting this to move forward. So, Dave, I know you had some comments.
Yeah, I
on it
just,
last
I
time.
living in a development that has ditches and all that and all the crap we have to deal with drainage, I just wish we could go to curb and gutter, but I understand the zoning allows it, so I'm just not, that's my concern is that it's just so much potential that we're going to come back later. The side is that the zoning allows them to do this type of stuff, but I'm not in favor of it at all. So
My concern with the build out at 75% is there's going to be different owners of those lots at that point. So those new owners can protest out of your proposed improvement to pave those streets because it will be a street project. So that's something to consider. Yep. I mean, attempt to draft an agreement and have them sign a waiver a waiver of protest, but it's just something you need to consider as part of that process. There's going to be new owners that will have the right to.
Would you be willing to address that in the purchase order or something along, however that could be
Yeah, it's
done?
already been in conversation with our proposed buyers now that, hey, this is what we're talking about, 5 years or 70% of when lots are sold, not constructed, that specials will be brought on, roads will be built at that time, and most everybody is well on board with it, that we are proposed buyers now. I'm happy to see that in the future, but
Because they would prefer, I would assume they would prefer, but having the cost up front, it does lessen the cost of entry, so to speak.
yeah, if the proposed storm sewer and curb and gutter and all that comes in right now, it adds $3.7 million to the project, so it goes from $2 million to 5.7. Some average lots in here, the smallest lot of 1.1 acre is going to have $80,000 specials on it. That's more than probably about what we're selling a lot for, with $144,000 in term of interest and stuff. The largest lot's going to have almost $700,000 specials if we pave and do the paving and storm sewer and gutter right now, and that would totally wipe out our project. We would just have to turn around and figure out something else to do with the property. So that's where we're at. As far as what we'd like to see is just get water, sewer in. We'll construct the roads, aggregate, just like our first edition is. It's aggregate right now. They're working great. And then at time when this grows and develops and flourishes, then we'll pave, and we could have an agreement written with each owner, I think.
I mean, they have to know that those costs are going to hit them at some point.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they were fearful of taking on that cost, they probably wouldn't buy it now anyway, right? So, because they know within 5 years, or at 5 years, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah,
Right?
5 years or 70%.
Right. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to come, but I think it gives people, maybe new businesses, Masterpiece Concrete out there, they're on our phase one, but they wouldn't have bought them if there would have been specials in that. Now there isn't on that piece, but it gives some companies a start to start their company probably and build in Horace. So
Right.
there's a vision.
Yep. And then get established a little bit
get
more.
your
And
feet
then
on the
like I
ground.
said,
Might be new companies. Two right now are that we do have agreements written, and they're all on board with future pavement, and we do have 4 that are contracted right now, but 2 are totally on board with that. I haven't spoke to the other 2 about it because I was waiting for this meeting.
Another thing the city could do is, before authorizing a building permit, is have them sign that waiver. So we just have those waivers prepared, and then before
because I mean that would
issuing the building permit or a CO.
That would eliminate that issue so that they can be paved. That's the thing. The only concern I really have with that, like what you're talking about. I want to make sure that gets done right when the time comes. I mean, it'd be nice to do it up front, and I get that, but
well, no, I just want to clarify. You guys are stating that when we're talking paving, all we're going to do is pave the roads that are there existing,
Not
reconstructing and putting.
This is a paved road.
Right?
It's not curb and gutter.
Right.
Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a paved road, open ditch.
Yeah.
That is what it would be.
so it would be filling in that ditch and putting in storm sewer.
No, it's just
it was
5 years,
paving that
70%.
road.
just the road.
It is just paving the road. It is not going and changing up the storm sewer, filling in the ditches. That isn't the component
Yep.
of it. It would be just paving the road.
Do we,
So what you would see is basically like what Vistas has in their current subdivision or industrial area on south end of town. It would be similar feel, except for it would be paved. At 5 year point, the road would be paved. That's the only difference.
Yeah, as opposed to having it.
So basically, it's like putting down the base for 5 years.
Well, I'm looking at as comparison to, you know, the businesses around 52nd Avenue there that have gone and solved that was a gravel road with ditches and so forth. And just this last year, they went in and paved the road, and I believe they filled in the ditches. Now, what they did with stormwater, I don't know. I'm assuming they put in storm sewer.
I would assume so. Yeah, I'm not.
I'm assuming they put in storm sewer, but I don't know that, but they did.
Yeah.
They did put in storm sewer? Correct. So,
I mean, the side of it is our zoning allows this, so whether we, you know,
Yeah.
it's something that we as a city should take a look at in the future. In my
Maybe we put in there, we review it at that time, and, you know,
Right.
I'm not saying we're against it, it's, right now, that would, you know, be something to put in for future talks when we get to that point. There is 7 feet of, this has a little different topography maybe than most construction jobs from our current phase 1, zone 2, drain 27, there's, I think there's 6 or 7 feet of drop in there, a natural drop. That water goes that way like crazy. So the whole construction is going to follow that time.
we won't have to worry about too many lift stations for the stormwater. It'll
No.
come out naturally.
No.
So not there.
Which is a good
It
one.
wants to run. So.
Yeah.
Like was being brought up, we wanted to bring this up to council too, get your feel for this situation, because the last time this was discussed, we wanted to have the final plat through. But working with Kelly, he wants to know where the council sits for sure. Okay, what direction? Because if this animate curb and gutter, he said where it stands or where they're looking at.
So,
And they didn't want to go through filing the final plat until this would be resolved.
Concern?
I stated my concern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure. If there's
I
nothing
mean,
else.
there's really 2 special assessment districts that we would create. One to get the water and sanitary sewer installed now. And then again in the future, so as long as we have a letter of agreement or somehow notifying those landowners that this is the plan, and like you said, Lucas, if there's a waiver or something that we can make them aware of that, that would be the best case scenario. But I get it, trying to minimize cost, you know, lower the cost of entry for those new businesses. It makes sense, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to attract businesses to land out here in Horace, so that that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
When you say make a plan, are you talking about the curb and gutter?
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
knowing full well.
because as
we
far
want
as
curb
the
gutter.
roads being paved, I mean, that's not really, is that really a concern? If they're paved or not, it's more of the ditches that are the concern.
It's just my concern, so yeah.
And the zoning allows.
But the zoning allows it right now, so I don't.
I'm
My
not sure
side
what
is
we're
yeah.
accomplishing, I guess, as far as
Right. I agree.
the comments.
It is a 94-acre project. It's not small. Pre-paving all these roads, I think, is foolish. Some lots are a little larger. They might get split down someday if approved. And I think just going aggregate for a while and seeing what comes in there, let the roads get beat up on construction phase, and come in at 70% or 5 years. 70% might happen in 3 years. Who knows? And at that time, we look at what is best for the project then. It's hard to vision how this all going to end up and
So,
who's in there.
question for you, Jim. Since you're taking the big chunk of that, right? You're going quite far down to the drain.
All the way to the drain.
Yeah. Is there an opportunity to put a road that goes back to the Eric Plumbing, even if it's gravel right now, to get them to start using that?
Yeah, it was shown on the preliminary plat.
It's already drawn in there, and I don't know what street that'll be.
I mean, that's a positive for us because it might give us an alternative to not have to do the wherever here, over here. That
See, the parcel to the
Hey,
south,
It would connect.
Yes.
the
It would be
parcel
another
to
way.
the south of the lagoons is ours also. This is not in conversation right now, but that street will come up to that 54 acres also. And whatever happens with the lagoons is that road would go through there then and tie into that existing road.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already pre-planned to match that, and all those things, so.
Okay.
But, so, our property that we own is 100 and just about 50 acres. We're doing the 90 acres that falls like the grove of trees, 227, and the north piece is in the future of,
Right.
we don't know what that would be, residential or commercial, industrial, whatever. So.
I stated my concerns are, and
Again,
we're
we're-
got to move forward.
Yeah, we're going with the zoning ordinances. I mean, we're not, it's allowed, so.
So proceed with, or I guess,
Okay.
trying to get the final overall where you guys
Right,
stand.
so I think the
Just
recommendation
allowed
is
with the
that
zoning.
to follow a recommendation where
Okay.
allow the zoning for the light industrial, which would support aggregate in ditches, right, for the drainage, right?
Yeah, the land has already been rezoned. It's just, you're just kind of, what you're doing is agreeing on a way to move forward, to get to the final plat, and then get this to implementation. So the developer has his project and the city has their.
Why this is in holdup was because when we first got zoning approved, we were going to fund the whole project privately. When we got our bids back and the engineering plans from Interstate, most of our contractors that are bidding were coming back to us saying, why is everything so overbuilt? Your lift station is built for way bigger project than what you're doing here. And I had no idea. I don't know what the lift station should be designed at. Well, then after talking with Interstate, it has a little larger district to take that. The lift station will take way more than just our properties. So then we go, wait a minute here. So we're paying for this. Let's put it back onto specials, and if it's larger than what we need, but it's smart to put it in. That's why now we're asking to have the roads built,
And
water and sewer.
being that it's commercial and industrial, it's a mix, right? So I'm assuming commercial is supposed to be curb and gutter.
It's not in C3, and that's what it
C3,
was
okay.
rezoned. Yeah, C1 and 2 it is a
Okay.
requirement. C3 doesn't. So, correct.
So I do like the language included that said that the build out that would give us the option to proceed with that build out at some point in time. There's criteria included, so.
But I definitely think that the city should have a waiver of some form.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Because of that.
I agree.
I do too. I think it's good.
Because then we're setting expectations with those owners of what's going to happen at some point.
Yeah. That has to be done.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think what I would prefer then is a motion directing me to draft that waiver, and then I can draft that, and then as we're going through with the planning process, you guys can approve that document.
So we don't need to, Brenton, we don't need to make a motion to give the engineering direction on the overall. It's just that
No.
This was just
we
the
This was
will
just to
entertain the
get-
plat.
This is just to get a
create a
feel
special
for
assessment.
council where you guys are at. You're going to be seeing the final plat. If Kelly is comfortable with what was discussed, then he would be proceeding with the final plat. Once you see the final plat, you guys put conditions on at the final plat stage. That would probably be the most appropriate time, in my opinion, to do that, is put a conditions on at that point. So if you're talking about you want to have the waiver of protest and have things like that, then that's where you would put those conditions on at that time. But having a general idea where council is sitting helps to ease the mind of the developers and the city so they know what direction to proceed with this development.
So should we get that waiver drafted now?
I don't think
The only reason I say it now is
Yeah.
to give Kelly some comfort that you
Yeah.
are willing to.
And I'm comfortable with if we fund the roads, have them constructed at spec. You guys, water and sewer, we're good to move forward.
But in essence, though, if we draft the waiver, then you can provide that to all the
Even prior to
perspectives.
closings,
Right, so you
people,
can
yeah.
say, hey, this is something that it will impact you. Right?
It-
So I
it's-
think having the
it's
waiver
fine
in
if you
hand
want
would be a benefit for
Certainly.
you in those negotiations.
Certainly.
But I would have the official one be done by the city.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
Right.
ensure that
Yep,
it
yep.
gets done.
So you want to make a motion to...
So that's why,
Yeah.
that's why I'm
That's fine.
asking, right? So I'll make a
That's
motion
fine.
to approve Lucas to draft a waiver of what do we
Protest.
call it?
Protest and
Waiver.
irregularity.
Okay, that.
All right, so Brian makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Chelsea does a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion
That would
approved.
be using that document anymore than just saying, this is expect us.
Just so they're
Right.
aware, just so they're aware that it's coming.
Yep, we'll put that together. Okay, Kelly, you feel comfortable with this, or you want some more, or we need to?
No, we're good with the terms,
Okay.
we'll construct the roads to spec and we'll put the
Okay.
water sewer on specials and, as long as, I think Jimmy said that to be constructed this year, that's a major thing because we have buyers
Right.
that are gonna turn around if we can't get this constructed this year in 2019.
Right.
We can have roads done for sure, we'd wait until water and sewer was dug up and be put back in and then construct roads.
Yep. So,
So
Okay,
that's
cool.
Totally on board.
We'll be pushing to
yep,
make it happen.
Yep.
So,
Who got the
we'll
second?
just keep moving forward then.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It'd be
oh,
Chelsea.
did.
Chelsea did. Yep. Okay, we're good with that. We'll move on to number 13 then.
All right, you were all provided with a project status report. Nothing really out of the ordinary, anything we need to touch on. The big one was the water meter replacement project. Training was completed this morning with city staff.
Nothing like waiting till the last day.
Well,
Wow.
Hey, they got it done.
It was
Really?
this
Got
morning,
it
not after.
done.
Oh my goodness.
And I guess they have good ESP because when I wrote the email the day after the council meeting, they had already sent the schedule of the training for today. It happened to work
Okay.
out that way. So anyways, SL Circle came and worked with Matea on the computer side of it and the data there, and then he worked with all of the public works staff to collect the data and how to troubleshoot some areas of issues if there were with the handheld. So of all the meters that were installed, they had a little issue with, I think they said maybe upwards of 50, but it could just be a mating the right serial numbers up in the program. They were gonna, Excel Mechanical was gonna
Not
come.
surprising.
Right. Excel was going to come down tomorrow and work with Matea on the spreadsheet to make sure that all the data was entered correctly and that they recorded the data correctly. So
So at this point, we don't believe that there's any homes that we have to go back into to.
we're not sure. I don't think there are many. There may be a couple that they were thinking that something was not reading correctly, but no, they drove through and did a run on the city. So today they were able to collect the data and dump the data. So February.
So February 1st, we can, well, I guess that is a question, is when do we actually schedule the actual read? Is it January, I mean, it's like the 25th, right? Or is
That's
it
our
the first
schedule.
one?
Yep.
What's your communication plan that you've done to residents? Because are you going to expect them to send their reading as well? Plus, we're going to read it from the software.
Well, that was my question. So do we do the read? When is our staff going to take that reading? Is it going to be the first?
It's going to be. Well, my understanding is the 25th.
Whenever you guys want to do it. They did it today
Yeah.
just to see if it worked. And
Because that's going to be the key element, right? Is that we schedule this at such and such time on such and such day. You know, that is the same day that we will read it every month.
But have we communicated? I don't think we can just go and now start February because people are going to send in their readings. Plus, you're going to do a reading. Then what are you going to bill them? Are you going to bill them what they sent, or are you going to bill what the reading was?
Well, this first month is going to be a bit difficult, right? Because the reading that you're getting from the system is probably very different
yeah.
from what people have reported or they have reported or anything, right? Yeah.
Your first official reading might have to be March. I mean, you gather the information, say whatever day it is in January, February for that.
Right. So you're putting
And then the next
creating a baseline of what
Yes.
the gallons at each house are.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
we're going to have to go do another month. And all right. So have we communicated this
It
to residents?
starts.
Is my question. What we're doing.
We have communicated to residents that as the meters the project was getting finalized, more meters, or we're wrapping up the installs, that the first couple months into the new year, so 2019, they would be doing the manual reads, and that we would let them know when the automatic reads rates have kicked in. But we're going to want to have them run concurrent for a little while,
Exactly.
just to make sure everything is checking out. So if we see somebody, we do automatic read that comes in, 5,000 gallons, and they're reading at 10,000, then we know we got a problem. But we're just trying to run concurrent for about a month or a couple months to see if there's any issues, and then we'll go live. It'll likely be, like Van said, around March or April, right around that time frame.
Okay, so my question comes back to, what is our detailed plan? Because we need to have a communication that states we have finished this process, and for the next X months, we are still requiring you to do send in your reading, and we are going to match against however we want to document that.
Yeah.
And then on this date or this month or whatever it is, you can stop sending readings in the system.
Right. We're going to get synced up. That's what
we're doing, right?
Yep.
You're doing matches and verifying and all that.
Yes.
So I guess that's my big thing is that our citizens are aware that
now that
in 2 months or 3 months or whatever you guys decide, the automatic stuff will start.
But the good news is,
yes, that
the
you've
system
got
is live.
Yep.
We have it hooked up.
Now that the meters are installed and we're able to proceed, now we can actually give out a detailed plan.
Okay,
saying
all right.
we're going to go live.
I was sorry because I felt like you guys were going to state next month you're going to start using those numbers as your readings and start doing stuff and things like that. So
we got it.
Okay.
Okay.
But you will give notice a few months ahead of time.
So I
It
guess
will be
that's
sent.
the next step is to start that communication to lay out that. Or let's first draft the plan.
Yep.
We're going to work out the plan saying when we're going to go live, but we wanted to make sure that the system is working before even talking about that anymore with the residents. So that way we could truly go live.
But the earlier we let people know that this is coming, and I guess the question is, does this merit a letter? Or
It'll be noticed as multiple ways.
Hey, why don't we put the notice? We have the ability to text field on the meter reading bill, so they could put that on the, as a notice on their bill. Okay.
Come up with a plan.
Yep.
That's what we got to do.
Okay. There are 6 remaining meters with the flow control on them. They haven't shipped yet. They reached out to the census today and didn't really get. Said Excel McCandless said I just called Chance, the factory census rep, and hoped he would shed some light on when we could see the remaining Allen meters. And Les felt that he got a bit of cold shoulder, so he hopes it will be soon. But that is a minor thing when we've got hundreds and hundreds of these in, and now they're reading and transmitting. So we're on the right track with that. So the one thing that I failed to do was on the Park and Rec Trails grant. The township approved the agreement. We need to have a motion to prepare the plans and specs. We just approved the engineering agreement earlier. Need a motion probably to do that, create the plans and specs. Attorney says thumbs up, so apparently we do.
Okay, so I guess we'll do that portion to make a motion to approve the plans and specs for the engineer, for the.
Hold a second.
Thank God.
We're approving you to do the
motion.
work, or you already have done it from previous.
Nope, approving to do. We
Okay.
haven't done.
Cool.
We're in the right.
Notice I'm done yet.
Okay. All right. So, Brian, you made a motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, Brian, Dave made a motion. Second on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
And then the
motion
last thing, if you
carries.
want to scroll down one sheet, Brian, you will see the. Okay, maybe another sheet.
Also, this is what we just did.
Yep. There is a plethora of work going on around the school site and kind of a scope of work on the sides of it. So you guys can kind of grasp the magnitude of the improvement districts and work around there. So
We're going to run out of crayons for the pretty colors here.
well, there's
Got a
not too
box
many
of
times where we
64.
let the cat guys use every color that they have, but
This
hatches too.
just brings back a point as you guys are getting through the plot and all that type of stuff, and we're talking about 76 being ripped up and all these types of things. Kind of looking at Matt because you're planner. We need to start communications to our residents now because that whole 76 is going to be tough, and we're going to have to think about alternative routes if there are any or anything like that. Let's get ahead of this thing.
This would be something I think would be meriting of a couple pages in the worst happenings. That goes out to everyone to just let people know what's going on. And maybe throw this on here so people get a grasp of the construction projects that are going to be heading this way.
Well, I guess the other piece is let's take what Fargo did. You're all driving down 52nd. You see that darn sign on both directions. Let's put some signs out on 76th, directing them to our website or something to start letting them know.
We are, in regards to 76, we are finalizing the plans with the county.
Yeah,
that's just wrapping up.
Roundabout in 76th Avenue, the county is the lead design on that. We are helping them with various tasks,
And
hydraulics.
the detour routes are identified at the very end. We have a general idea where the detour route will be. We know there's going to be an advertised detour route, and the route most people actually take is going to be different.
Correct.
But we have a route that we're going back and forth with the county on right now. So.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the areas in
Sooner the
blue,
better.
the Lakeview and 79th, we're progressing with plans and specs on that. I hope to have you something for review in February, first meeting in February for review on that. The green area and the purple area, 76 is still in protest. That'll be, the hearing for that is the February 4th meeting, I believe. And then when is the protest hearing for the other two?
18th.
The 18th.
So we can still protest 76.
Certainly.
Get on that, Ross.
It's a written protest, Russ. So.
Vance will be sure to accept it.
Just have to have 2,000 signatures.
You know my address?
Okay, anything else on this one, Jim?
No, that's just kind of, I wanted you guys to see all the stuff.
This should be something though. This should be at the State of the City. Another one of the pretty pictures for everybody. We'll go over that evening too.
And we are working on the mapping and the stuff that we talked about.
Perfect,
for the
okay.
state of cities.
Brent, got anything else?
Okay, I make it fairly quick here. Couple things. Horse Happenings newsletter. We've been doing just a little blurb, just a flyer as an attempt to help reduce the cost and go with a quarterly approach to where we have a more robust newsletter every quarter. So that will come out here in March, around March timeframe. You would see a quarterly newsletter approach. We're also looking at changing how we do the utility billing to where we could get some of this information out. In the meantime, outside of the quarterly horse happening, we could have like a horse highlights or information at different events and different things going on. We can slip that into the utility bill by, instead of using a postcard, doing a actual letter with one sheet of paper being the utility bill and then maybe a couple other sheets of miscellaneous information. More similar to what you see with your your utility bills, like your gas bill or electric, other utilities like that. So that's one area we're looking at. Also, just a very quick update on some of the different legislative things going on. The prairie dog bill was presented to the taxation committee or tax committee at the House level last week. Corey and I were able to attend that. There was very strong representation in support of the prairie dog bill. Nobody spoke against it. The committee did not say taking actions, but that's where they were at. Two other areas, no action's been taken yet. There's a proposed bill to eliminate eminent domain and a proposed bill to eliminate the ET area. So those are two downfalls. We're hoping that won't happen. I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
So we'll be done.
We'll be done in a little bit here, Lucas.
2 minutes, Lucas.
Okay, you done?
Yep.
All right. So on the portfolios, again, you talked about the legislative stuff. We're ongoing with that because we got to keep an eye on. There's multiple bills that we got to keep an eye on, so that'll be an ongoing event. State of the City next Tuesday. Pretty picture time. I want to try and have everybody on site for this. If you're involved in the city in any fashion, minus the public works fellows, I'd like you guys to be at this thing. It will be noted as a special meeting, so we won't have to worry about quorum and all that. So, but for questions and answers and just general chit chat, it'd be nice to have everybody on site. Just to make on your calendar, I think I sent you guys a note. I will be out of country February 13th through February 23rd. So I will be gone for the second meeting.
Will you be answering your phone?
No. I will be in communicado blackout.
Who's answering the phone?
Brian
Is
will
Brian
have the
our-
distinction.
Brian is our vice.
He'll have the ring, Frodo's ring.
To not take the back phone.
The bat phone will be yours, man.
All right, fine.
All right, and that is all I've got.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I'm late, but can I ask it?
Okay, make it quick. Go.
I noticed I got a special assessment increase this year on my taxes.
Okay.
What caused that?
You have to have it here in front of us. I don't know if there a number on it. I mean,
No, it was just showed, and I just want to point out that I hope it isn't tied to this development out on Wall Avenue.
Where is it? Where's your property at?
Is it 517?
First Avenue South.
Do you have your
Or-
tax statement with you?
Huh?
Do you have your
I
tax?
have a picture of it.
It won't be for Lost River.
Huh?
It won't be Lost River.
No.
It's not the Lost River.
So none of that would be tied to it. Okay.
No,
81st
that'll all
Avenue.
be right in there. I don't know which project it'll be, but
But I mean, I'm just trying to figure out why, because I'm on separate septic tank. I have my own rural water. I don't have anything, and I'm just wondering why I got a special assessment in the city of Horace. If you, the city engineer, will let me know.
I certainly can look it up. What was it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to write your address on there.
What's your, sir, what's your name?
David Grunley. I think there might be some other people coming at the 7 o'clock deal about this.
Okay.
okay, next. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Did you have? Okay, you had a quick question.
No, I'm just jacking on here too. I got my property's tax statement.
Okay.
It says undefined specials, and it rolls into the sewer business. And I just thought that was really interesting.
Okay.
I don't know if that really is. But that's
We'll have to look at it.
I mean, that'd be something that you have to talk to.
Here, it just says undefined.
Okay. All right, Dave.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Get a second.
Second.
Okay, Chelsea, the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, you're adjourned. All right, Russ, see yours.
These guys might want to have a look. You show them stuff about the school.
Oh, you got other stuff to work on?
More than just plat.
I know. That's okay.
I'll have to look tomorrow.
Because there's some other people coming too.
What's your?
We got close.
yeah. So the school or the city will just be added as an owner like this.
I will look
No,
into
you
it.
can amend it between now and city council approval. And you can amend
There
it
were
at
tiers.
city council
I don't know which district it is, so I'll find that out and then I'll get it over to you.
No, it's easier to just do it on the plat, so let's do it that way.
So I have to
like
find
I said,
that out
this
to tell
will
you
just be
how
included down here where they'll
See you tomorrow.
the owner of the lot will want to. Yeah, this is way easier. No, it'll be done. It'll be done on the plat. And I'll confirm too.
Kind of questionable. I've heard that.
Sure, but yeah.
You aren't the first one to tell me that.
I'll see if we need a year.
I will look into that thing.
And I think Jordan Smith can come in and ask.
Well, in our office did all that.
Well,
Luke did
if
it.
he does,
Roger did it.
once I find out where it is and what it is.
Okay. It's all right, like, but yeah, the city knew of that.
Please.
So it's not.
I just looked